All right, we are going to continue reviewing more equations. I said yesterday we're going to start with some that have more fractions than just one single fraction. If we have an equation where you only have a fraction on both sides, we can either get rid of the fraction by common denominator, or what I would do, knowing fractions, your opposite products are going to be equal. So you take 7 times 4n plus 5, and then set that equal to 5 times 2n plus 7. Distribute both sides in, 28n plus 35 equals 10n plus 35. Variable on both sides. So we would subtract our variable, the smaller one, 18n plus 35 equals 35. Subtract 35, you get 0. So 18n, or 18 times a number, is 0. We're timesing by 18, divided by 18. What is 0 divided by 18? 0. So n is equal to 0. All right, let's take one where we have multiple fractions. All right, so if we have multiple fractions, we can work these as fractions and get a common denominator, go that way. But simplest way, what we want to do is find that common denominator to start. So what would our common denominator between 3, 4, and 5 be? Anything smaller than 60? Anybody? Because these would get us 12. Common denominator between 12 and 5 would be 60. So common denominator, LCD, is 60. So what we are going to do is multiply every single fraction by 60. I think it's helpful if you show that you're timing it. You see why in a second. All right, so now what we want to do is take our denominator and cancel. How many times can 3 divide into 60? 20 times. So that 3 cancels, and this now becomes 20. Don't lose that though. 4 goes in 15 times. 5 goes in 12 times. All right, so now what we need to do is we're going to have 20 times n plus 3 minus, we're going to have 15 times n, and we're going to have 12 times that n plus 2. Thus we no longer have fractions. That's what we wanted to have happen. So now we do still have work, but we don't have fractions, which makes it a lot easier. Number next to a parentheses, distribute. 20n plus 60 minus 15n. Distributing in 12n plus 24. So it's still, we're not anywhere yet to where we're solving, but we're making it simple, and that's what we want to do. I lost all my variables. All right, so this side, we have 20n minus 15n. What's 20n minus 15? 5n plus 60, 12n plus 24. Now we're getting simpler to where we should be able to figure out what to do. Variable on both sides, find the smaller. The smaller is 5n, so let's subtract it off. 7n plus 24 equals 60. Let us subtract 24. What does that leave us with? 36 equals 7n. Divide by 7. N equals 36 over 7, which sometimes is how we're going to get it. They will not always come out as perfect answers. If on your test you get one, leave it as a fraction. If they count that wrong, they have issues. Okay. Just leave it as the improper fraction. All right, the other thing we're going to see. Let's go back. If we have the absolute value of a number, how many numbers are 8 units from 0? 8 and negative 8. So the simple one, let's start with this one. Equals 8 or equals negative 8. So we then use that. Let's say they have this. We set up 2 equations. So n minus 4 is 4. or n minus 4 equals negative 4. So you're going to have one that's positive, one that's negative. So here we would add 4, n would equal 8. Or we would add 4, n would equal 0. So on these we should get two answers because there's always two numbers that are that many units from 0. One of them is going to be positive, one of them is going to be negative. Let's do one more like that. So on one like this, we want to get this absolute value by itself. So if the absolute value wasn't there, the first thing we would do would be subtract 2. So we subtract 2. 4 times the absolute value n equals 6. How can we get rid of multiplying? Divide. So we divide by 4. Absolute value n equals 3 halves. So what numbers are 3 halves from 0? 3 halves or negative 3 halves. So one's positive, one's negative. Okay, let's do a couple. One other kind of problem. Let's do it this way. All right, what number? Yeah, that's what one. We have the square root of x equals 25. So the opposite of a square root is to square. So if we square both sides, this square and this square root cancel each other out. So x equals 25. Does that make sense that the square root of 25 equals 5? Yes. So let's do another one like that. Okay, so the square root of x plus 2 equals 6. How do we get rid of the square root? Square. So those cancel, and we're just left with what was inside. X plus 2 equals 36. Subtract 2, x equals 34. One way you can check that. What is 34 plus 2? 34 plus 2 is 36. Square root of 36 equals 6. And one last one. Let's make that a 5. Square root of x divided by 4 equals 5. How can we get rid of the radical? Square both sides. So that cancels. We're left with what was inside. 5 squared is 25. X divided by 4. How do we get rid of divided by? Times 4. X equals 100. All right, what I would like us to do. So on the same page from yesterday, solving equations and systems of equality, or equations. Division and systems. 27 to 43. I'm going to try all of them. 27 to 43 today.